Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another exciting guest on today. They're with a nonpartisan reform organization, and we love to hear about nonpartisan reform organizations because they do a lot of wonderful things to tear apart the duopoly and to advance democracy. The organization we are presenting today is called Ranked Choice Voting for Colorado. I have two representatives from the organization today. One is Linda Templin, and she's the executive director, and I also have Dr. Desmond Wallington, who is their minor party coordinator. So welcome to the podcast, Linda and Dr. Wallington.
Thank you.
Hey, glad to be here and connect with your crew.
Yes, we are glad to have you. So if we can get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Okay, my name is Linda Templin. My backgrounder is I have an undergrad in political science and a master's in public administration. And I was supporting nonprofit programs in a country recovering from a civil war until 2016, back when that was the worst election I'd ever seen. Simpler times. But I started to see people using the language that precedes a country devolving into a civil war. So understanding just how bad it is and how hard it is to come back from, I thought that I could devote my time and talent to building a stronger system. We don't have to let it go that far. And I rallied up with other people like myself, people who have the ability to manage nonprofit organizations, people who can do research, and we've developed a plan to build a stronger, more fair democracy to gift to future generations.
Sure. Sounds good. And you, sir, kindly give us an introduction to yourself.
Yes, my name's Dr. Desmond Wallington. I'm my day job is I'm a psychologist. Linda and I met in 2017. She was going around different political parties presenting on ranked choice voting. And that was something that I became really interested in 2016 as well during that difficult election. And then, started getting in with the cause, helping, spread information at different rallies, doing research for the organization, and, helping with, the political organization. I've helped with other, political causes, primarily drug reform laws here within Colorado. I enjoy ranked choice voting because, my dissertation topic was on psychometric theory and, are you measuring what you think you're measuring kind of stuff. I don't really think we're measuring, what we think we're measuring, on election night. I do think that ranked choice voting gives a way of collecting richer, more meaningful data that, can really help, politicians go in with a more informed understanding of what the voting populace wants.
Wow, that's deep. What's it called? Psychometrics, you said?
Yeah, psychometric theory.
Okay, wow, that's a new terminology for our audience.
Yeah.
I trust we haven't heard about that before, so that's awesome. And Linda, if I may ask you, you said you were in a country recovering from civil war. Are you at liberty to tell us what country that was?
Sure. And I wasn't personally there. I was just helping the programs. But Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Okay.
So that was the blood diamond country. So,
sure.
So they're coming back from that. And everything I do in the nonpartisan space, going to all the different parties, all these different people don't trust each other. Every part of this is at least 6 times easier than doing the most basic thing in a country recovering from a civil war.
Oh, okay.
Because the challenges are that big. So, this is easy. This is walking and chewing bubble gum. This is fine.
Okay, good. So your past there prepared you so you can come in this job and excel at it from all your experience, give you skills and knowledge and wisdom.
Oh, absolutely. Everything we do every time we build our knowledge, we build our power. My first organizing was, just being active with anti-nuclear war in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And then women's rights organizing in rural Texas back in the backlash days. And although our organization gets trolled, it's nothing compared to the backlash days.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if you could please tell us what your organization focuses on. I understand you're telling me about you have several different focuses a couple different ones in addition to ranked choice voting, so altogether several different focuses. Could you kindly talk about what your organization does?
Yeah, so let's just go over the broad strokes and then we'll narrow it down.
Perfect.
So what we've developed is what we're calling the Colorado Fair Elections Plan.
Okay.
And the big point of it is to give voters more voice on election day. And so what we're seeing as our vehicle to building this stronger, more resilient democracy that we are going to need, the first thing is the ranked choice voting, because that eliminates the whole spoiler effect conversation, right? The voters are free to just say who they love, who they like, who they can live with. Big money interests can't come in and throw in a spoiler candidate to split the majority. That doesn't work in ranked choice voting. And also the candidates, if they want to win, they need to reach out beyond their base and tell you what they plan to do. Well, again, knowledge is power. That tells you who you can really trust. So it isn't just a bunch of buzzwords, which is what we get now. You have to get actual policy information about what they plan to do. So that's our part 1 of 4-part plan, ranked choice voting. The second segment is proportional representation.
All right.
And what that is, that was used in Northern Ireland after what they're calling the Troubles. And it's been used in other countries as well as a peace-building tool, because what it means for a durative peace is that everyone gets their fair share of the say. No one gets boxed out, which is what happens in winner-take-all elections.
Yeah.
So the way it works is, again, it uses a ranked choice ballot, and the tally finds the consensus. And when you have it proportional, if a third of the people are Republicans or Libertarians or Greens or whatever it is, they get about a third of the seats. So currently, if 51% of the people want one thing, 49% of the people are SOL.
Yeah.
Well, that's not, how is that democracy? We can do better. And truly, the USA has democracy 1.0. This is what George Washington and company thought was a good idea. They knew it wasn't quite right. They worried about endlessly warring factions that they really saw what was coming, and truly it's played out. But George Washington didn't know dinosaurs existed. These documents were written by candlelight. It's been a while. So
Sure.
In the early 1800s, proportional representation was invented, and even Abraham Lincoln used it back in the Whig Party.
Oh, wow.
And he could have brought that with him into, the federal government. However, there was a bit of a dust-up, which was our Civil War, right? We're going to call it a bit of a dust-up. But so we know that this exists. It's been around for a long time. It's been used in the U.S. for over 100 years.
Wow.
And so we know it matches up with one person, one vote. And we know that our modern elections equipment handles it. Our audits handle it. And it's what they use in Australia. It's the most similar to what they use in Australia. And they've run the, heavy duty audits. We know it works. So that's proportional representation. You just use a ranked ballot and everyone gets their fair share of the say. The other two parts, part 3, is a way to have open primaries that still serves the parties and allows minor parties to grow as the voters wish them to or not. So it's an alternative proposal to what the Harvard Business School has shared out. And number 4 is just supporting our clerks. I mean, they do the hard work. They get all sorts of horrible threats in. Not okay. And anything we can do to support our clerks and help them make sure that we can rely on our elections, we want to do. So that's,
okay.
And in Colorado, we have paper ballots. You can always go back and audit them again as many times as you need. So we love our paper ballots. They're going nowhere.
All right. I thought it was interesting how you mentioned you don't believe it's democratic if 49% are shut out. So it makes me wonder, what is the definition of democracy? Democracy is one of those words that a lot of people use differently, and we use it one way here. Alternative Party people use it in the way that we want as many people on the ballot as possible, as many voices as possible, and not merely a tyranny of the majority. So how would you define democracy given that?
Gosh, yeah, it is one of those words that means different things to different people. And, and there are people in the political space that are allergic to the Democratic Party, and even the word democracy is a challenge because it tracks in the baggage of the Democratic Party, which is why we call it fair elections plan. Because what it comes down to, and, shout out to the Rotary for having some good best practices, some good praxis, is that we have, one of their things that they look to is it fair to all concerned? Right? They have like a 4-way test. And one of the things is it fair to all concerned? And that is what we use in our organization, which is why we've been very careful to build out our board to be politically diverse.
Okay.
So Barry Fagan, who is he's a professor at the Air Force Academy, very conservative, leans libertarian. He's the author of The Conservative Case for Ranked Choice Voting.
Okay.
And we're just pleased as punch when he joined our board. But we have a forwards person, a forward party. We have some Democrats of the Biden flavor and Bernie flavor, a green or two. Like we've got and nonpartisan people who are just not with the party at all. Right, the independents. So we've got a fairly good mix because we want to make sure that what we're doing really works for everybody. And, the old civil rights saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
There you go.
So we got to make sure we have all the viewpoints at the menu, not just who all shows up to be active, but that we have a good variety of viewpoints.
Sure. Dr. Wallington, as the minor party coordinator for this organization, what are some of your duties and responsibilities, and what do you learn as you go about them that informs your organization's processes?
Yeah, you know, usually I do a lot of kind of, events where I'll go to different third minor party organizations who, are looking for, they have different topics every week kind of stuff, and every so often alternative voting methods comes up,
Sure.
Agenda. So I'll go and, present there. And, when there's legislation around ranked choice voting, I try to kind of corral all the different minor parties within Colorado. I think there's like 7 or 9 all together, and a couple trying to kind of get minor party status and within the state. So it's just kind of making connections with people in different parties and just trying to find a consensus amongst them all about how would they like the ballot to look, and just kind of helping to inform and dispel misinformation about ranked choice voting.
Sounds good. Sounds like your job is exciting. Is that true?
Yeah, I tell a lot of people about this, opportunity that I'm in, and it's exciting to me, but sometimes I get a glazed over look, in people's eyes and stuff. Voting reform isn't like the most exciting thing,
Sure.
for a lot of people, but
sure.
But it gets exciting.
Yeah. But for a lot of people, it is, right?
Yes.
They want something different. They're tired of holding their nose at the ballot box kind of stuff, and usually,
Exactly.
I've had friends tell me, like on Facebook, like, oh yeah, we started using it, and I had no idea what it was before you started posting about it, kind of stuff.
Oh, good.
Getting, the more people use it and understand it and see it in action, the more they like it, kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's just, we as an organization understand that, people learn best about ranked choice voting from hearing about it from people from a similar background from them, kind of stuff. We need Republicans talking to Republicans, Libertarians talking to Libertarians, and, Democrats talking to Democrats, just to help kind of, build that consensus. And the more people we have who know it and understand it, the more popular it becomes.
Sure. When we interview the nonpartisan reform organizations, I like to ask them their strategy for implementing their plans, such as whether they go through the ballot, whether they go through referendum or initiatives, they get passed by state law. Given your organization has a multi-point platform, how are you planning to implement all these ideas? Is there a certain order, or is it going to be a thing where whatever traction you get, you go in that direction, or how do you implement all these different ideas at the same time?
Excellent question. So it's, one, we have to always be informed by reality and what the polling is. So although proportional representation right now works for me, that may not be where the rest of the world is just yet. But
Sure.
We know that one of the things we have learned is that our best audience are community leaders. So that is people, in organizations, and also office holders. And everybody, from voters to office holders to the people who run elections, we know everybody needs the ranked choice voting 101. Like, here's what the ballot looks like. Here's how the tally works. That you just rank who you love, who you like, who you can live with. And the tally finds the consensus of the majority. They count up everybody's first choice votes. If somebody has passed the threshold of a majority, they win.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody has, there's an instant runoff using those very same ballots. Everybody's vote stays right the heck where it is, except the last place candidate. They go away and their supporters' ballots are counted for their next choice. And we keep repeating that until we find the consensus of a majority, because we want to give all the candidates as much of a chance as possible, and we want to make sure we're including everyone. So that's the basics of how it works. So we go to these various organizations and even city councils, state representatives, all of these leaders, and we make sure they understand what it is and why it benefits them and how it works, because there are trusted messengers within their communities. But also, one of the issues with going the initiative route is you need money, because you can get about half of the petitions collected by volunteers, and that's if you're really organized. The other half, you're going to have to hire in some people to stand outside of Walmart all day. Yeah. And it is, that's hard work. It really is. You bust your tail, you can get 50 signatures in a day.
Oh, wow.
So it's a heavy lift. However, if a city council refers a measure, it's a lot easier because it already has and I'll use a fancy word, imprimatur, which, anyway, it's got the official blessing. People who have done their homework have looked at it and said, this is legal, it makes sense, it's financially responsible, this is all practically doable. This isn't just some random people who drew up something on a cocktail napkin. This has been used for over 100 years. We have all the tools. We've talked to our clerks. It's doable, right? City council put it on the ballot. Usually a city council referred measure passes. So that's been our, a good strategy for that. And what we've been looking at for a statewide measure is something that is legislatively referred. Similarly, it has the support of a majority on the legislature. Then they are messengers within their community. So that's kind of how we've been building towards this. But we also, when you're planning something, you start at the end in the plan. Like, here's where we want to get to, and then you break down the steps you need to get there and then kind of row through the steps. And what we need is the clerks to do a great job administering these elections, to make sure that it's, watertight. It's, you can audit to your heart's content. Everybody can trust the results. So we went to our clerks, our County Clerks Association, and we said, this is what we'd like to do. How do we get there? And what do you need to succeed? Because if you need it, we want to get it for you. Your success is our success. And, they're not all thrilled about getting handed extra work, right? It's extra work to change how you do a thing. And we're very, I would say, unusually fortunate in Colorado in that our clerks are not afraid of continuous process improvement. They're not afraid of it. They know they can handle it. So in other states, it's very, who are you random people? Please get away from us. Okay, so it's a very different approach in other states, but we're really lucky here. And, as you are in other states, you can point to, here's what Colorado was able to make happen, because other states look at Colorado to copy notes. And that's no accident. It's really pretty here. And so people who can live here do. So we have an embarrassment of wealth when it comes to smart people. A lot of people think smart folk are on the coasts. Maybe for industries like fashion, it's true. But if you want to live someplace pretty, this is one of the prettier places in the nation, so people try to live here. And I think that's my personal theory on why we have so many smart people. But your administration crew will be copying notes from Colorado. We had a great rollout in Boulder using the same software that is used around the state. It's used around the nation. We show off how to do the very best audits in the nation. And so please copy our notes. Rule 26 on our Secretary of State's website, and I'll include this in the, documentation I send you all. We have ranked choice defined as an instant runoff tally and a single transferable vote tally.
Okay.
Technical jargon, but we got that baked in early, and thank the stars under a Republican administration, and it has survived the presence of a Democratic Party leadership at our Secretary of State's office. So it's, it's got to be Noah's Ark, 2 by 2, each of the major sides. So it has that base of support. Like, this is what is fair to all concerned. This is the most conservative, by the book way to do it.
Okay. So when you're going about your activism, we know people always are going to object to it. Not everyone, but there's going to always be someone. So what are some objections people give towards your plan, and how would you counter their objections?
Sure. The number one thing that pops up, and this is because it's a good question, is it, does it leave anybody out? Right? Is anybody harmed by this? If the ballot is different, does anybody have trouble with the ballot? Okay. And so we've done our homework on it, and so every time there's an implementation in Colorado, every time it gets rolled out, we do a study and ask the voters, or, hire somebody to ask the voters, because, it's got to be a neutral third party going out and asking, how did you feel about the ballots? Was it easy? Was it hard? And we see that the standard numbers are between 85 and 95%, and this is nationwide. 85 to 95% of people say the ballots are easy. With a pick one ballot, 80% of people say it's easy, which, kind of surprised me. But it's a factor of holding your nose. And so and this is what really struck me as surprising, fewer people mess up their ballots in the ranked choice. That surprised the heck out of me. But we've done the deep dive into the demographics. Like, is there a demographic? Do people with less education do worse than people with high educations? Are there racial groups that do worse than other racial groups? Because you have to make sure the outcomes are fair. Sure. And we see that everybody does well at this, and some groups have like a 10% bump in how well they do. Okay. So, but yeah, it becomes it's better and it's more equal, but there's one group that always leads. They do better than anybody else in pick one plurality and better than everyone else in ranked choice, and that's senior citizens. Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah. They complain about it more. Bless their hearts, they do. But, my personal theory is you have to be a cautious, methodical person to get to be a senior citizen. Huh. That is who lives that darn long. So, yeah, they do a great job. I mean, they take more time. They want to talk to the clerks about it. They sometimes literally need their hands held. But, no, they do fine.
Okay. One of the complaints that I often hear is that, it could be confusing to voters because, say you get your ballot in the mail and the mayor or city council is a ranked choice, election, but school board or president or whatever, some of the other state level elections might not be a ranked choice voting. And so that might be confusing to voters. Like, why are we using this, for our local elections, but not for statewide elections or national elections kind of thing. And I've never really, my reaction to that argument is, well, this is how, the movement works. You just can't introduce a new voting method, on a statewide level. You do have to give the county clerks an opportunity to run in local elections so they can, have their lessons learned and kind of, understand the methodology. But before you, use it in larger elections throughout the state, and I hope that that is a goal of ours, is to have this, used in statewide elections and in federal elections within the state. So that's another common, criticism.
Okay, sounds good.
And what they do in I'll say Minneapolis, the way they handle that is they've got one side of their ballot is their federal and state elections, and you flip your ballot over, you've got your local elections. So it's pick one on one side, and on the other side, it's who you love, who you like, who you can live with. Rank them.
So that sounds like a nice solution to the problem.
It's hats off to Minnesota. They were one of the first states to use this on a larger scale. So, we've learned so much from them.
Yeah, and that's the path to, a statewide ranked choice voting ballot is you get towns and cities using it, throughout the state, and then, other cities are like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? Until you get a majority of voters within the state using it, and then, you start looking at a statewide, campaign.
And I'd say Maine has done, we follow Maine. I mean, they've been methodical. And
as
so
Maine goes,
Portland,
there goes the nation, right?
There we go. We love us some Maine. And so they had their major city, Portland, using ranked choice. And then when they wanted to take it statewide, they had a 2-year program of going throughout the state, doing beer elections, rank your choices, get a flight of beers, rank what you like the best, and then they show off the results. And breweries love it. They love to get the feedback or what they should have on tap. And, they got some good fundraising people involved with those events, and it paid for half of the statewide initiative. Because, could see people making those $20 donations.
Beer is a nonpartisan issue, too. You get people across all the political spectrum.
Right? Beer, pizza. If it's fun, go ahead and rank it.
There you go.
Yep, getting people comfortable with it so they know what they're being asked to vote for on Election Day.
All right. Dr. Wallington, as you outreaching to the alternative parties, what are the alternative parties in particular telling you about this? What feedback are they giving you?
Alternative parties are really interested in alternative voting methods. Like you talk to maybe like the Green Party, you'll learn that, ranked choice voting has been a part of the Green Party platform since, 1996.
Wow.
Right, which is, pretty significant, because especially when you hear all the, think about all the hate and vitriol, directed towards them about, 2000 with Al Gore, Ralph Nader, and George W. Bush, and then 2016 with Stein, Clinton, and Trump. So, they're all about it. They're like, please make it happen. We're tired of being blamed for the Democrats, inadequacy, to run decent candidates. We have a lot of strong supporters within the Libertarian Party. Karen Ann Harlow, she's lives here in Castle Rock in Colorado. She's always helpful, and kind of help rallying at the Libertarians. She's the secretary of the National Libertarian Party. Andrew Yang is a big supporter of ranked choice voting, so we brings in the Forward Party people. People, they like the idea, kind of thing. I think a lot of people are really tired of like the runoff elections and the extra cost, that costs, cities to do that. So, that usually kind of gets the more conservative, political parties, on our side as well.
Sure. Sounds good. So, Dr. Wallington and Linda, how can our audience support your organization?
Our website is RCV, like Ranked Choice Voting, FOR, Colorado.org. And so there is how to volunteer, how to make donations, and you can also, so you can support us like that, and you can also support us by helping to spread the word. So even being part of our monthly newsletter helps, and forwarding that out to other people who are interested, because state by state is how we build this.
Okay.
Right, so this is how, and I read the newsletters from other states. I love some of the messaging I'm getting from Washington. I'm loving Oregon. Portland, Oregon is doing amazing things with proportional representation. So I'd say, get in the loop, learn what people are doing. We need help in Colorado because, we're always having to go toe to toe with the larger organizations, better funded organizations that want to stick their thumb on the scale. Right. So that's how it is, but we're able to fight back against it just by having staying power. And, building our email list and not going away. So, for instance, we have a objection to a open primaries measure that's been put forth. And what we need to do is build something that's going to be fair for everyone. So I want to give a quick thumbnail of that. But yeah,
Okay.
I'd say to support us, we need small dollar, big dollar donations if you can do that. If you can't, if you have time, there's volunteer opportunities on the website. If you've got, if you've got a minute, forward an email. I mean, it just, whatever works for you. You don't have to mess up your world, but if you can help in whatever way, 5 minutes, an hour, or some, a donation. Everybody's help is how we build it together. So, open primaries. If you think of it like a track, right?
All right.
We want to make sure that we have enough competitors on the track. So the good things we're seeing about open primaries is it opens up the space in between the Democrats and the Republicans, because there are people in that space. Fine. Yes, please be part of the reforms, and please, get out there and compete. But don't shut down the other lanes on the track, right? We have to preserve ballot access for the minor parties. We have to preserve the rights of the parties to say, this person represents our platform and that person doesn't. So
Sure.
The way it's been sketched out, it was designed by the Harvard Business School, and it's good to get their inputs and know what they need, but also they're not political scientists.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, okay, so we need to fine tune it. So it's kind of a rough outline on what they'd like to see, and it's like, okay, you can get that, but also there's people beyond the Harvard Business School. So let's make sure everybody has a fair shot at competing for the votes. So we have to make sure that the minor parties can make the ballot the way they did it in Alaska. They followed the Harvard model, and they kept a minor party off the ballot because the way they're doing it is a Final Four, and it shuts down lanes. And so it gives you only 4 choices. So it's sort of like you can have ranked choice as long as it's only the high dollar candidates on the ballot. So that is not where we're going with this because it's not fair to all concerned.
Sure.
So with a few safeguards on there to make sure that minor parties can grow and adapt and give people what they want, that's what we're going to need.
Okay.
So I will put in the link for anybody who wants to dig in a little more. We're calling it 4+.
Okay.
So, yep.
Sounds good. So we thank you for coming on the podcast today and talking about your organization and all the exciting things it's doing to make our system better.
Well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for letting us connect to your crew. We're so happy to be able to reach out and be part of everything that's happening.
Sure. We wish your organization all the best, and we wish you personally all the best in everything you do in life.
It was great talking with you today.
Yeah,
all right.
Best wishes to you and your whole crew. Thank you.
Take care and all the best.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.